I do want to ask you guys, Prom, you made a joke about this a little bit earlier. You said, is it still Purdue against the field? And I don't think that it's Purdue against the field now. Wisconsin is rolling. They've won 6 in a row. They're sitting at 5-1 in the league. Michigan State is rolling. They're 5-0 in the conference. They haven't really played anyone, but 5-0 is 5-0. And Illinois looks like maybe the best team in the league right now. They're sitting at 5-0. Kofi's been a monster, maybe the National Player of the Year. So, T.O., I'm going to you first on this one. Who is the best team in the Big Ten today?
Right now, without Andre Curbelo coming back. I like Illinois anyway. But the thing is, what scares me, and I'm sure Coach Prom will talk about this here in a minute, is whenever Curbelo does come back, I mean, that is a big emotional piece. And are you going to insert him in the starting lineup? Are you going to bring him off the bench? And I think the best thing going forward for Illinois would be to bring him off the bench, because I think he can provide a spark of energy. He can provide some offense when things get stagnant. And I'll be honest, guys, I think he's a little too emotional to be relied on for 40 minutes. I think we saw it early in the season. He gets so wound up and so tight that some of his decision-making gets questionable. This team's moving the basketball. They have so many good shooters on that team, and they have the unstoppable force and the immovable object, whatever you want to call him. Kofi Cockburn, like you said, could very well be the National Player of the Year. Right now, him and Johnny Davis are 1A and 1B for me, just because sheer dominance. And look what their teams are without them. I think that's a big point too.
Yeah, Steve, how are these teams, when you bring back a piece as big as Andre Curbelo, how do you do that as a coach? Like when you're rolling, right? They struggled with him earlier in the year, and there may have been some, he's dealing with some concussion symptoms and whatever. But when you bring in a guy after playing so well, how difficult is that to do to kind of ingrate him into the team?
Yeah, I think it's difficult in a lot of ways, because you obviously, you've got a great relationship with the kid in Curbelo. Brad does. Obviously cares about the kid immensely, but his team's playing extremely well right now. I mean, Trent Frazier the other night, he gets 25. He's playing with the swagger. Him and DeMonte Williams are older guards. And Andre came in the year with a lot of expectations and a lot of praise, and, placing a terrific player like Io. I think the one thing it does for the Illinois team, it right now they know they can win without him. Number two, when he does come back, if he has some up and down moments, they know they can feel comfortable putting him on the bench, letting him regroup, okay, and then bringing him back into the fold. Number three, I think the strength and the leadership is very good on that basketball team. Going up there a couple of days, watching them play, being around their program, watching them practice. I think they've got some older, very experienced, savvy veteran guys. Their ability to shoot the ball is huge, but the one thing Curbelo can bring them, when they get in foul trouble and Big Kofi is out of the game, they're going to need ways to score the basketball. They do have great shooting, but they need playmaking to create opportunities. When Kofi's in there, we're so focused, we're going to get open threes that way. I think Curbelo will bring that to that team, later in the year, giving them a spark, giving them some scoring opportunities if Kofi's out. But it's a tough transition, obviously, because Andre's probably coming back expecting to play.
Mm-hmm. And if you're watching right now, make sure you guys on YouTube, you hit that like button, you hit that subscribe button. Any kind of interactions that you have with these videos on that channel really does help. So if you do like what you see here, that's all that we can ask you to do. T.O., I got to ask you about Michigan State, man. Are you buying them? Are they back? Are they #back?
#back. Well, if their point guard play keeps up the way it has, I think they are. And Gabe Brown and Malik Hall, they've been tremendous. I love Marcus Bingham Jr. I think he's finally turned his potential into the type of production that Michigan State needs. Now, is he going to be able to guard Kofi Cockburn? I have my questions. Of course, I don't know that many people can guard that young man, but it's a team that's playing really well together. They do a good job on the boards, and they really guard. And Gabe Brown has turned into the player that a lot of Michigan State fans thought he was going to be. He's been very reliable, over 14 points a game. And AJ Hogard, we talk about point guard production. He's got the second highest assist rate in the country, up around 44%. I mean, his ability, I think his growth over the past season or over the past year, I mean, it's been noticeable, and guys are starting to figure each other out. Earlier in the season, we were down because we're like, we don't really know how they're going to improve because point guard play is still a question. They're starting to answer that question, and they're able to do it with both him and Tyson Walker, whoever's playing better that particular night.
Yeah, both of those guys have a really impressive assist rate. Steve, what is it about Tom Izzo that allows him to be able to get guys like this together? Like this, if you look at this roster, there's not really anyone that you're afraid of, right? Like Max Christie's probably the dude on this team, but he's still just kind of a freshman that has been okay for most of the season. So what is it about Coach Izzo that gets these guys to be able to buy in and execute what he wants them to do?
I mean, it's easy to say, number one, he's a Hall of Famer, but I just think it's Michigan State. You put that jersey on, you play for Michigan State, you represent a great tradition and a great foundation. But number one, Izzo is going to challenge them. He's going to hold them accountable. They're going to defend. They're going to play with phenomenal pace, pushing from A to B when they get the rebound. And they're old. Michigan State seems to always be old to me. Older guys, you look at their top 7 guys. We've talked about it several times. They're very deep. They'll play 9 guys, 7 guys average 7 or 8 points or more, but they're old and they're physical and they're tough. And I think Izzo takes pride in winning with teams like this. And they've got, you go play for Michigan State, you got a lot to live up to. But I think it's the accountability that Tom holds all those kids to.
All right, so where are you guys ranking Purdue at this point, and where are you ranking Wisconsin? If we look at it, Illinois and Michigan State are both 5-0. Wisconsin is 5-1. You got Ohio State at 4-2. Indiana, they are now 3-3 after the loss they just took. That game is over, and Purdue is sitting there at 2-2 in the conference. Do we have a favorite? Are you ready to crown someone the favorite in this league?
Way too early in a league that plays 20 games. And right now you look at Michigan, they've only played 3 games. You kind of look at the loss column sometimes because when it's an imbalanced schedule right now and because of COVID, you're really more looking, all right, how many losses do we have more so than wins? Because you got to keep up in the loss column or keep, and Michigan's only got 2 losses right now. Purdue's only got 2 losses, but everybody in that league, the league is too good that everybody in that league is going to go through a stretch like Purdue did where they have a 1-2 week. And it hadn't gotten to Illinois yet. It hadn't gotten to Michigan State, but it's coming. At some point, it's coming in my experience.
Yeah, and I'll tell you this much. The first night that we have this show on Sirius XM is going to come after Illinois and Purdue play in Champaign. That is going to be a fun one to watch. For those listening right now, this is the Field of 68 After Dark. My name is Rob Doster. I'm joined by Steve Prohm and Terrence Oglesby. Remember, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you are watching this on YouTube right now. Indiana ended up losing.
Hey, hold on. What are we just going to throw Wisconsin to the wolves? We're going to spend the first 15
minutes. I didn't know. That's what I didn't know. Were we going to keep going? I didn't know we'd cut off on the Big Ten too. I was
about to bring up Iowa and ask you how much of a threat that they were. Like what we just saw. We know how good Keegan Murray is, and we just saw how good Chris Murray is. So when those two are rolling, like what should we make of this Iowa team? Is it just simply when they decide they want to get stops like they did in the second half tonight against Indiana, they're going to be really, really good? Because right now, entering this game, they were a top 3 offense in college basketball. They were 154th in defensive efficiency, according to Ken Palm. So what is it about this group? By the way, for the record, for those of you listening at home, Oregon is now up 64-60 on UCLA with 6 minutes left. So that is definitely something that we are going to have to continue to monitor. But Tio, how dangerous is this Iowa team?
Well, I mean, here's the thing, and I think it's been proven this year, whenever you have the best player on the floor, you're going to give yourself a chance. And that's the reason, even when Wisconsin plays Illinois, I still see it as possible that Wisconsin can beat Illinois because they'll have the best player on the floor. They won't have the most dominant player, but they'll have the best player on the floor in Johnny Davis. And Iowa has that same thing. Whenever they have Keegan Murray in the game, the chances are they'll probably have the best player on the floor. So that's always going to give you a chance. They're going to have to guard, which I'm kind of shocked at that they're not guarding a little bit better, but that's kind of been their MO for the past couple of years, right? They haven't been able to guard really at a high level consistently. So obviously they're going to have to turn that on, and they have the bodies to be capable of doing that. You wonder when it's finally going to click on that end.
I'm watching glimpses of Arizona. Man, they're good. Holy smokes. They just
Yep.
pop out over there. They're averaging 90 points a game, not to get off the Big Ten. But, I agree. I think, that Michigan State, Illinois, Wisconsin, Purdue, those teams are so good. And we got a long way to go in that race. And, that's why they always come with so many teams in that league. That's why a lot of times it ends up with a tie for the championship, a three-way tie. The Big Ten at times have had four-way ties for,
Yep.
league championships. But right now, I think
I'll tell you this much. It's really going to be a fun conference race to watch.
Yeah.
I think the SEC, now that Auburn has kind of solidified themselves to me as the team to beat in that conference, I now think the Big Ten is the one that I'm really kind of looking forward to seeing how that race ends up playing out. I mean, we say it every year, and maybe it's just a result of like Big Ten teams playing Big Ten teams over and over again. But man, that league is so freaking good at the top. I don't think there's any other conference that can kind of match them in terms of the top 4 or 5 teams and the depth that you get out of probably the top 8 or so.
We can't write off Purdue either. We can't write off
of course
Purdue.
not.
Like they're number 1 offense in the country. They're shooting over 40% as a team from 3, and they have some behemoths on the inside. They haven't guarded well. They're close to 70th in the country in defense. They've got to guard better. But with their size, their closing ability, because of their athleticism with Jaden Ivey, I think like by the time the end of the season happens, he's going to start making better reads. The team can shoot it. They've got size. Purdue's still really good. Now, Purdue or the field, going field, completely changing my mind. Earlier this year, we had this conversation, and I picked Purdue. The rest of the Big Ten it's a dogfight every single night.
Yeah, and you look at Purdue too, they'll get one back. I mean, I know they lost at home to Wisconsin, but whether it's Monday night at Illinois, they're going to get a big road win or two along the way, just because they're really good. But early season, now you obviously you're scouting more, and in the Big Ten league play, it's a gauntlet. And so, but I think those 4 teams have definitely separated themselves in that league, in my opinion.